So my name is Margo van Greta. I'm in Scotland, in the Findhorn community. We also have a small Buddhist group here. And I'm really delighted and honored to be teaching all the way in Santa Fe. My heart always lifts up when I speak these words, so that's very exciting. I would like to start with a short moment of silence and actually set our motivation for being here. So if you want to join me, let's just take a moment to bring ourselves present. Notice how we sit here. Feel your body on the seat. Your feet on the floor or wherever they are. Notice your breathing. Your body to be relaxed and alert as much as possible. So allow your mind to be relaxed and alert as much as possible. One way to do that is to simply notice your breathing. Notice the rising and falling of your abdomen. From this space, let's check our motivation to be here. Joining Be Your Own Therapist. Exploring Buddhist methods to tame our mind, to become maybe a bit more peaceful, a bit more happy. So bring that sense of peace and happiness. Share that with others. Since when we are more peaceful, more happy, more content, less caught by the ups and downs of life. And the more we are able to be of benefit to our surroundings. And benefit others as well. Because you may have your own motivation for being here, so just include that. Check that out. Let's bring ourselves present to the here and now. Thank you. Okay. So I thought before I go into the any teaching or anything, I just want to check in on, do you have any questions or any topics that you were hoping we would discuss today? Because now is a good time to mention that, then there is a good chance that I can include it in the session today. So if you have, then please let me know. You raise your hand. We're small enough to do that informally. If I can see you, then I can see you. Yes, Lasita. Is this how I pronounce your name? Lasita? Great.
Yes.
Great.
So it's a name given to me by Amachi. So I've had a hard time with therapists.
Why?
Because they often seem to have their own agenda and their judgments of what I need. So the idea of being my own therapist attracted me.
Right. Very
So I
good.
just wanted to put that out there.
Mm-hmm.
My mother did die, I think it's 2 years ago on this day, and I had a very problematic relationship with her and have tried to be as loving as possible. So maybe that's part of my goal here,
Mm-hmm.
is to continue to process my relationship with her.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Thank you. So this is quite significant this day. Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that in. So thank you for bringing that in. And it's great to see, whatever we're going to discuss today, to see that in that context and see how that can be of help to you. So definitely. Yeah, thank you for bringing that in. Yeah. So maybe a little bit. So I'm going to talk a little bit. Happy to talk, and also feel free to ask me questions. While I'm talking. That helps me to stay on track. And at some point, I'm also hoping to do a meditation somewhere halfway to do a 15 minutes meditation in relation to the topic. So yes, in Buddhism, it's the theme here, this is be your own therapist. And that's actually very Buddhist, because the whole Buddhist path is very much a tool, and a set of tools and a set of practices and a set of teachings to work with our own minds, our own consciousness. So rather than rely on someone else to do it, although I think, I don't know, not, most therapists also are supposed there to help us and not do the work for us. But anyway, in this work in Buddhist practice, the idea is we use the teachings or the meditations or the concepts that are part of that vast and rich toolbox of methods, to actually use that to work with our own mind, our own consciousness, with our own emotional being. So a little bit about the word mind in Buddhism. In the West, we tend to think mind is only our thinking. But in Buddhism, the word mind refers to what we understand as consciousness. I like that word better. It is more wider, because consciousness includes our thinking, but also our feeling, our emotions, our perceptions, our habits, our discernment, our memory, our planning for the future, our dream world, it is a whole vast, rich and expansive concept, the mind. Actually, so the mind actually is like clear and knowing. So there is a part of the mind, an aspect of the mind that is as spacious as the sky. Yeah, you, Lasita, you have this huge sky behind you. So thank you for that. That is so helpful, because the sky is actually sometimes used as a metaphor for our mind, that our mind is as vast and spacious and clear as the sky. And that our daily hiccups, our problems, our issues, our disappointments, our resentments, all the stuff we're carrying, both the ups and downs, they can be seen as if there are clouds in the sky. They come and go, but they're not part of the sky, like the sky behind you. The clouds are there. I live in Scotland, so we got plenty of clouds here, comes and goes, but they are not the sky. So in the same way, if we could only experience our emotions, our hiccups, our anger, our disappointment, our frustration, whatever we go through, our depressions, if we only could see that or experience that as with more detachment, and not one with, this is what we are, I am my frustration or my anger, my disappointment, whatever it is. That's one of the methods and perspectives of Buddhism. So as a helpful way to actually deal with all the stuff that we are carrying. So in Tibetan, they actually don't seem to have a word for emotion. So this method comes from Tibetan Buddhism. In the Tibetan Buddhism, they don't have a word for emotion, strangely enough. But they have the words afflictive emotions or delusions. So that's how they actually identify what we call our stuff, our emotional ups and downs. So how do we actually deal with all these ups and downs that are part of life? We all have them. There will be hardly any person on our planet alive today who is not affected by all the disappointments, all the ups and downs of life. And some of them are, we can easily let go of. We say, oh, a little disappointment, no big deal. And others are really hooking us and are affecting us strongly. So that's actually quite interesting already to observe. Like today, I had a little moment of a detached emotion. I was going for a little grocery shopping and a little trip to the beach because I'm near the beach. And I thought, well, I'll have a look at the ice cream shop. And if there is no queue and if it's all good, I'll get an ice cream. And if there's a queue, I'm not having an ice cream. Well, there was a queue. I had no ice cream and I just walked on peacefully, happily. No, frustration, deep disappointment, whatever, grasping for that wonderful ice cream. I thought, oh gosh, no, I don't want to queue for an ice cream. I have only half an hour. I'd rather go for a walk. And I ate my strawberries instead. So there you go. So that was a moment of, just detachment and going with the flow. However, life is not always like that, isn't it? There are these other moments, where we encounter difficulties or problems or situations or people in our lives, family members, friends, colleagues, neighbors, where we have these interactions with, and it's hard to let them go. And we can't just walk away from them and, oh, well, no problem, see you later. We are hooked by them. So what are the methods to actually, not be so hooked? Because this hooking by all these difficult situations, that can keep going. We go back over it again and again. We all do that. We all know about that, I'm sure, I imagine. So how do we actually then deal with these things that all of humanity is going through? How can we best work with these difficult emotions? So in Buddhism, what they say is to practice the middle way. Because one way would be to deny them or suppress them. So if there is a situation where there is, anger coming up, disappointment, frustration, all these things, one way would be to just pretend it's not there and say, oh no, it's not there at all. So that's one possibility, yet usually that is not seen as a healthy possibility, because the issue will come up again or will come in through a side way. So also we don't actually learn from it or deal with it. So denying things is actually not the best way. Another possibility that happens a lot is to actually express our frustration. As soon as there is a frustration, I hit my toe and my toe hurts and I yell at the stone that hurt my toe, or there is a situation, someone says something that I really find painful, I really don't like, an unpleasant situation, and I just yell or just, attack the person or accuse the person or whatever. There is anger and we express it. And then again, we have another conflict, we have a war, we have a very difficult situation. Also, the disadvantage of simply expressing our anger is that it doesn't really stop. In some methods in the West, they say, well, if you express your anger, then it's gone and you'll be happy. But is that so? So check this out in your own experience. I'm sure in our lives, most of us have had situations where we did that. We said what we thought or how we felt to another person. Did that really help? Maybe for a moment it's a relief and you say, well, I got that off my chest. But on the long term, what were the consequences? The other person may be hurt or maybe retaliating, and then we have to argue again. And, that's usually not a very satisfying solution in the long run. So what Buddhists recommend is the middle way, is to find a middle way between suppressing and expressing our difficult emotions as a way to deal with a challenging situation. Now, in order to do that, we actually need to be mindful of what's going on. Because if we're too busy or too unaware of anything, we're actually not aware that we have a sense of frustration or a sense of anger or a disappointment or an attachment. So one of the first tools in being your own therapist is self-awareness, is to have the ability to monitoring ourselves. And ideally that happens, in a situation, in an interaction with a person, ideally we are able to do that when the situation is there and someone says something, and then we can feel we have this expression, your blood start to boil, it's like, ooh, you feel this sensation going up and go like, oh, I think this is anger, or I think this is, unhappiness, or I think I'm getting hurt here, or whatever the emotion is. So a first step is to actually be aware in the moment and notice, like, I'm hurt here, or I'm angry here, or I'm really disappointed here, or, whatever the situation is. So that is actually a first step towards dealing with the difficult situation. So also when we notice it, when it's still quite small, when the first movements arise, it's still manageable. So it's still, it's easier to manage an anger or a conflict when it's still relatively small than when we have already, 6 months of arguing and angry letters and court cases and I don't know, battlefield situations, because then it gets very complicated. So it is actually great if we can identify a situation when it's still very small. Also here, and then actually what helps, because being aware of our own inner state while we are in a conversation with others is actually also quite a skill. So here is actually a recommendation. That's why people do meditations, to actually practice in early in the morning or before you go to bed, to actually practice a short moment of mindfulness meditation, to just say, okay, before I have my coffee or my breakfast or my tea or whatever, let me just sit for a couple of minutes and notice how my body is, notice how my breathing is. What we did earlier is a couple of minutes of silence. That was a very short version of simply monitoring ourselves. So that is a practice that is actually very helpful to do. So this is my little plug for meditation practice, good for you type of thing. So I'm sure we all know that, but it's true. So that's one way, sort of being mindful. So then the idea is, if we practice like a meditation in the morning or as a daily practice, no matter how short, it doesn't have to be an hour or what. If you do an hour, great, my appreciation. But even if you do like 5 or 10 minutes, it's better than nothing. It is a practice that really helps. So another tool that helps is what I referred to earlier, to remember the nature of the mind. So even if we are in a conflict, in a difficult situation, or we know we have disturbing emotions, if we can remember, our mind is actually like the sky, clear, vast, and spacious. And these difficult situations, these challenging words or unfair or unjust situations that we're in, they just come and go. They're not part of my mind. They're just situations that come and go. In a way, it's very useful to see them as if they are clouds in the sky. Like, oh, there is a word that someone is saying to me, and that's quite critical. And then I know that, oh, there is a feeling arising, and that's a feeling of, puzzled or disappointed or something. So these are all skills that help to not grasp on the situation, like this person is saying that to me, and, now they're terrible people, and I will tell them how wrong they are. So because then you get into the conflict. So if we have a little bit more distant from the situation, then we can actually most likely make a more skillful decision in, if somebody speaks to us, if we have a bit more distance and are less attached to the words or the issue that is taking place, then we might be in a better position to actually think, what's the best way to respond to this person? So again, that is when we remember the nature of the mind, we actually have more skill and more ability to deal with them, to deal with difficult situations in the best possible way. So these are just some of the things. So let me just pause here for a moment before I just ramble on. How does that sound? Does that make sense? Or any comments on that?
Well, I'd love to hear from Deb and not monopolize, but it sounds very sensible.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, yes. I was looking for the parallels exactly of what you said to what's going on with me. After 15 months of recovering from long COVID, I was just diagnosed with cancer. So I don't want to have to do the extreme surgery, radiation, and drugs. And I don't want to do nothing. So what's that middle path?
Yeah.
And I'm frustrated that I've done everything right in life. And I'm frustrated that I don't have a nutrition counselor helping me from the beginning. And I'm worried and nervous about making a lot of people in the traditional insurance industry very upset with me because I'm going to reject surgery. And they're all going to be angry and saying I'm doing the wrong things and such. But you're right, it's all the clouds. It's not me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I guess I don't have to worry about what their reactions are to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's me. It's me that matters. So like you're saying, the critical statements are going to come towards me. but I
Yes.
have to just let them come and go. And how do I stop, and what's the best way to respond to that? I know it's going to be coming, and
Yes.
making others happy isn't necessarily the point of this. It's to make myself okay.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
maybe there's some words or some good things to say. What is the best way to respond to
Mhm, mhm,
these people? Like going in ahead of time, not just meditating before,
mhm,
preparing myself for these difficult conversations and difficult questions.
mhm.
Maybe that's another way to proceed.
Yes. Well, I'm so sorry to hear that you have the diagnosis. I'm really sorry about to hear that. And I hope, do you have other practice, if you say you don't want to do the regular or what doctors advise, do you have other health practitioners who are supporting you?
No, it's too soon. I just got the results like a couple of weeks ago, and I'm looking for the others. And I haven't had the first meeting with the surgeon yet, and I don't even know the extent. It's thyroid cancer, and it's really small. So maybe maybe I'll be okay. You know what I mean? Maybe I don't need to do surgery, even though all the first level doctors are like, go have your thyroid removed. It's like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. So I'm looking right now for others,
Mm.
and I don't have any information on staging or if it's moved or if it's slow, or so, there's all best
Yeah,
case
yeah,
possible. And of
yeah,
course I'm rooting for the best. So, and
absolutely.
making all these phone calls to, do all these other things while I'm on the mountain of long COVID. So it's like,
Yes,
woo. So yeah, these are two pretty big clouds, but you're right.
absolutely.
They pass. This is
Yeah,
one cloud, and the other cloud's there too.
yes, absolutely. Well, I really wish you find your way through that in the best possible way. Um, So one actually method that would be the next on my little my little outline here is to actually think, because you're going through this, and as you're experiencing this, there are of course a lot of people going through very similar situations. So one way to there is a practice that's called Tonglen. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's a practice where you actually say that when I'm going through this difficult situation, and as I'm going through it, may I also, may I be healthy and happy and find the right solutions. But as I'm going through it, may other people in that similar situation also have their healing and solutions and the right doctors and health practitioners. So that is one way that is another method to actually go through it. So I don't know if this is of any help, but I'm just offering this. I've used it myself. The past 2 years I had a situation with redundancy and losing jobs and this and that was quite a big deal in my life. So I actually worked with that, thinking like, I'm not alone. There are other people who have, who are in a similar situation and lost jobs in the COVID crisis, and to actually work through it in that way. So I find that very helpful. So you may want to just check that out as one of the methods to actually deal with it. So just a suggestion. So
I think I heard about something like this, but the person who brought it up represented it as if she was asking to suffer because others were suffering. And it didn't seem to make sense to me. There was the way she represented it
right.
gave me that impression.
Yeah, there are a lot of different ways to present it, and some are quite difficult to hear. And I think, oh, I'm already having that problem, and now, I don't want to suffer anymore. So there is also another way. Is actually I started to learn about that, to actually allow our heart to open to the situation, to our own situation, our own illness or our own conflict or redundancy, or whatever is happening, to in a way open our heart to the pain that is there, and the sadness, or the oh, what am I doing, or what's happening. Actually open our hearts to our own pain, and breathe that through. And when we're doing that, we can also allow ourselves to just to be aware of pain of others who are in a similar situation, to actually include that in our prayer, in our practice. So yes, I'm aware there are a lot of different ways in Buddhism to work with that. And I've done the more harsh form as well in the past, and I'm actually more open to a more subtle way to do this. So that's yeah, I find it actually more powerful, because then when we open our heart to our own suffering, we can also open our heart to the suffering of others, and it's not either one or the other. So just a suggestion. So we can, because then we turn it into practice. So because we are suffering anyway, we're having this problem or illness or difficult situation. So if we turn that, mentally transform that, and say, by me accepting my problem, may all other people with this similar problem also find relief and solutions, and be free from this problem. So that's one. There are many methods, but that's one. Yeah. So, and in a way, it's like finding out methods that work for us, and that work for us. So, yeah. Lou.
I know what works for me is that if I have pain and I just keep it within myself, the pain gets magnified. It takes on a life of its own. There's me and it's the pain within me. And by keeping it closed up like that, it just gets worse. If I let go of that clenching to that pain and I just embrace the pain, that helps. But even then, it's still within my own mind.
Yeah.
By opening up to other people's pain, what you're doing is then becomes like, I don't know how to phrase this, it becomes like a shared experience, and the pain lessens because it's all in your mind, of course, but it's being shared. In your mind, you're parceling it out, so it just makes it easier to handle it, rather than just keeping it so tight and constricted.
Yes. Thank you. That's a beautiful way to explain that. Thank you. Appreciate that. So what I actually would love to do is to do a short meditation to actually practice it. Are you up for that? So I'll do a short meditation, basically practicing mindfulness, practicing awareness. So, and it'll be about 10-15 minutes or so, I think. So first of all, let's release the words and conversations. And let's go back to our body. And feel how you sit here, feel your sit bones on the seat. You can scan the body from Starting with your feet, wherever they are, on the floor or cross-legged or another position. Scan your body upwards, your ankles, lower legs, knees, upper legs. Just touch them with your attention. Does any maybe comfort, discomfort, cold, warm, whatever is there, just notice it. Your pelvic area and sit bones, hips. Back. Abdomen. Chest. Shoulders. The arms. The hands. Neck. The head. Giving our loving attention to each body part. The jaw relaxed. Muscles of the face. The ears. Back of the head. The inside of the head. The crown of your head. Scan the body back down again. To your feet. And notice the rising and falling of the abdomen, your breathing. And just be aware of your body at this moment. No need to change anything. Just notice it and be with it. We can shift our attention to our thoughts. Our emotions, to our mind. to our consciousness. Just as you've checked the body, so check your emotional state at this moment. What is that like? No need to do anything with what you notice. Just being aware of it. While staying grounded in your body with your breathing. Your emotional state changing or staying the same. Just check what that's like. Let's bring our attention to any thoughts. Are there thoughts going through your mind? And just notice them. Don't push them away. Don't hold on to them. We can also check our perceptions. Are there any sounds you're aware of? Cars or birds or the fridge making a sound, or neighbors, or anything else. Just notice if you hear any sounds. No need to do anything with it. Simply being aware. And with all these experiences in our body, our thoughts or emotions, our perceptions, we can see them as if they are clouds in the sky that come and go. They don't affect who we really are, our larger consciousness. We are like a dream, like a rainbow, like waves of the ocean, or like clouds in the sky that come and go. Give our emotions less power over us, so we can deal with situations more objectively. And finally, we can also bring in our awareness a problem we are experiencing. And expand our awareness and think of other people who are experiencing a same or similar problem. You can think, by me accepting this problem, and working with it, may all other people and beings be free from this problem and its suffering. Opening our hearts to our own experience. So allowing our hearts to open for the experiencing of others, experiences of others. Generating compassion for ourselves. And others. And let's give thanks for any insights, any experiences. Gently bring our attention back to our body. Maybe move your shoulder. Maybe stretch. When you're ready, you may open your eyes and return your attention to the here and now. Okay. Now I just want to check in. Any comments from doing this meditation? I like to hear from you. How did that go? Was that easy? Was that impossible? Was it doable? What did you notice?
Well, I kept finding myself falling asleep. I did have a very troubled night. And so your voice would bring me back, and I'd remember what I was doing.
Right, yes.
And I'm going through a pretty major concern about my grandson who's in hospital in Vermont. And 2 weeks ago, he had not been eating or drinking properly. He'd been spitting out the food. And so there's talk of putting in a stomach tube. There's talk of taking him away from the parents and putting him in an institution. He's an autistic child. He's 10. Anyway, so I kept thinking about that and thinking, how can I use what you're teaching us to help me with, I mean, of course, I'm at a distance, but I'm concerned about what's happening.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Well, I think that you know, holding a person and a situation like that in our attention, that is a beautiful, you know, beautiful practice to do. Yeah. Thank you for doing that.
Yes, at least I spoke to her today, and he is eating today, and he does sporadically. We don't know what the real problem is.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
I noticed when you talked through the different parts of the body, how various times that I would do the meditation in my life, 10 months ago, 5 months ago, 2 months ago, my answers would be the same from day to day, but in the last year, my answers are different. Like, oh yeah, now my feet are hurting, but before they never did. Or, hey, this used to hurt almost every day. When I did this meditation, I noticed it, but recently it's not bothering me now. You know how things change on a longer time scale. So I was kind of comparing right now to my other comparisons of right now. So that was interesting.
Yes. Great. So that's sounds like a great practice, that you can see the differences and you know, get in a way get to know your body. Yeah, it's very beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And you sound like really observant, like the different, you know, feelings in the feet or the different body parts. Oh, yeah, great. Great practice. Right. Yes, I'm also noticing doing it. I did it a little bit while leading the meditation, and that also in different times of my life, you know, going through the body or going through the thoughts or feelings or emotions, it changes a lot, you know, because you know, at the moment I'm relatively calm, but when I think, ooh, if I had done, you know, if this would be 3 days ago, I was in a, you know, I was in a very different state. So I just notice how my emotions change a lot, and also how the body changes a lot. But how all these and the thoughts change a lot. So it's, yeah, never a dull moment in a way when we can watch our own consciousness. You know, it's better than a soap opera. It's, you know, there are always things to be aware and observe and notice, because there are always things going on. So in a way, I think life becomes very interesting when we really able to monitor ourselves, because this is, you know, this is us, this is our lives. And of course, you know, we have interactions with others, with family or friends or, you know, colleagues or neighbors or, you know, other people. But in a way, this is a first port of call to actually notice our body, our thoughts, our emotions, our perceptions. So it is I find it a very powerful tool to come back to. So that's why I wanted to bring this in. And it seems very simple. You know, recently I did another course with somebody. I paid lots of money for that. We did 20 minutes of this, you know, check your body and check your. I thought, really? Did I pay hundreds of dollars for this? But in the end, when we did it, I go like, yes, this is extremely valuable. You know, this is a valuable part of, you know, of dealing with life, with all the ups and downs of life. So I've decided I continue to do it. So yeah, very, very important. Hey, so I am noticing we're going towards the end of our session. And also I want to end with a dedication. But I just want to say thank you for showing up. Thank you for joining in. So I'll be back all the Tuesdays in July, like four sessions in a row. So at the same time. So, you know, thank you for joining in. Thank you for being present and also bringing yourself present with, you know, sharing some of your life. That also helps me to actually be with the session and hopefully make a little bit of sense out of it.
And I wanted to say how much I like you, and I'm beginning to love you and appreciate what you offered to us today. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Well, thank you for bringing yourself present and especially sharing this beautiful picture that I could sort of, you know, use in the little teaching today. Yeah. And also thank you, Deb, for being present here and sharing yourself and just wishing you well on this, you know, this very challenging time for you. And I want to say thank you, Lou, for being here and, you know, being our anchor and our Zoom driver and our contact with the Santa Fe Buddhist Center. I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. So shall we do a closing dedication? So just let's take a moment to give thanks to ourselves for doing this practice, for listening and discussing and exploring the journey to be your own therapist. So may this practice help you in your own lives, bringing more peace, more happiness, more satisfaction, more health, whatever it is you need most. And then from this space, let's also see the positive energy. Let's dedicate it to all the other people on this planet. First, in your own surroundings, your own networks, your family, friends, people in your own life, the health practitioners and family members. Let's see the positive energy going towards them as well. See the positive energy going to other people in similar situations as us. Let's dedicate the positive energy to the well-being of all living beings, near and far. Through this practice, may we develop our spiritual state of being, become even more wise and loving. Thank you. So thank you very much, and I look forward to see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Margo. Thank you, everybody.